49ers update here from Levi's Stadium. Just one more practice remains until the season opener against the Jets, and I've got some good Brock Purdy, Brandon Aiyuk info, and also an update on Christian McCaffrey. So why don't we just start with the injury report for the 49ers. Only two players on the active roster did not practice today. That was Yetur Gross-Matos and D. Winters. So the second-year linebacker D. Winters is dealing with an ankle injury, and Yetur Gross-Matos has a big brace on his knee. Both of those guys, though, are doing some sprints outside during practice. Neither of them is limping. When you don't practice in that second to last practice, it's unlikely that you're going to play in the game, just based on prior history here with the 49ers. So I wouldn't expect San Francisco to rush either of those two guys back, but I also don't think that they're going to be out for a prolonged period of time. San Francisco is going to have to return Trent Williams and Brandon Aiyuk to full game speed action. Obviously, they just signed their contract, or their respective contracts, mere days ago. So it's about getting into football shape, which is different than working out on your own. And in the case of Brandon Aiyuk, Brock Purdy and Brandon Aiyuk took the field last weekend over Labor Day weekend, just them two. And Aiyuk was running some routes on air, and Brock Purdy said that they were able to regain some good timing, some good cohesion over that workout. So the extra time put in by Brock Purdy has allowed Brandon Aiyuk to at least develop some confidence that he can hit the ground running full speed once the 49ers and the Jets take the field on Monday. Then there's Trent Williams, who has to get back up to speed. And Chris Foerster said that Trent Williams actually struggled a little bit during the first practice of this week, just getting used to the contact that comes with football. That's a little bit different than just working out on your own. Here's what Chris Foerster had to say.
Trent is Trent. He continues to be Trent. He gets out there, and I think, as always, I think we've talked about before, in getting guys ready to play, there's that push and pull of being full speed against somebody shoving on you, and that yesterday got him a little bit. But today he seemed much better, and tomorrow he'll continue to push himself, and we'll see how it goes.
There's also the issue of combating potential fatigue if Trent Williams isn't fully up into game shape. And Chris Foerster said that the 49ers might rotate Jalen Moore, who played with the first team at left tackle throughout all of Trent Williams' holdout during training camp. They might rotate him into some action on Monday night, especially if the 49ers have a lot of offensive snaps. And this is really interesting to me because it was Bill Walsh who actually believed in rotating offensive linemen back in the 1980s when he was the coach of the 49ers. He said, well, if the defensive line is rotating to keep guys as fresh as possible, why not rotate the offensive line? And I think that the obvious reason why teams don't really do that is because there are so few quality offensive linemen in this league, and you have a surplus of quality defensive linemen, so you could get away with it on the other side. But in this special case, if the 49ers run up 70, 80 plays against the Jets, then maybe it will make sense to spell Trent Williams just for a few snaps with Jalen Moore. Here's Chris Foerster's explanation on what could be a fascinating dynamic Monday night.
Well, I've tried to purposely let Jalen just rep the left side because I don't know. I think a couple years ago in the COVID year, we went down to SoFi and Trent was coming off an injury. And in the fourth quarter of that game, I went back and looked the other day with Dustin Perry, strength coach. We had like a 9-play drive, 11-play drive, and a 12 or 13-play drive to win the game when Robbie kicked the field goal at the end. Nick Mullins was quarterback. We won at the end on a field goal. And Trent said that fourth quarter he was hanging on. And he'd just come off an injury. So, you'd like to think he's going to play him, but then again, it could be an 80-play game, and it could end up in a position where the guy can't do it. So is it going to be a rotation? I don't know. We'll see how Trent does after tomorrow and see exactly what happens. Hopefully Trent can play it out. If he can't, Jalen definitely has had a good camp and is ready to go. And how we orchestrate that, I'm not sure that we have to. We'll see.
All right, wrapping up the injury report, I mentioned that Yetur Gross-Matos and D. Winters were both not practicing but working off on the side. The players who were limited in this practice were Aaron Banks, who's coming off of the fractured pinky, Isaac Guerendo coming off of the groin injury, Talanoa Hufanga, obviously coming off of the ACL, Jawan Jennings, Christian McCaffrey, and Christian McCaffrey is coming off of the the calf injury for the 49ers, which was classified officially this week once the 49ers had to put out a full injury report as a calf and Achilles issue. Christian talked at his locker for the first time today in a long time, and Christian McCaffrey said that he is feeling fine. He does not seem concerned about the injury in the least bit. Here's George Kittle and Christian McCaffrey on tape from the 49ers locker room.
Yes, the energy's back. It's just fun to be back in here with like a purpose. Like when you're in here for OTAs and like the start of training camp, you know, you're just trying to get a little bit better, trying to practice, and then once the first season hits, first game of the season, first week, you get the game plan in. Definitely, the vibe is excellent, and then also when you get to solve out some contract stuff and all your players are here, it's definitely very fun.
Was there a noticeable difference just specifically with this week in terms of Trent and Brandon being back where it felt like go time?
Yes and no. I mean, I think we did a really good job all of training camp of like working really hard and getting better with the players that we had on the football field. And like, it's hard to replace someone like Trent Williams, who's a walking first ballot Hall of Famer, and Brandon Aiyuk, who's just a phenomenal wide receiver. I will say a lot of the guys who weren't here last year, when they saw Trent Williams, were like, holy cow, that's Trent Williams. And like just his presence on a football field is probably the most noticeable of anyone else I've ever seen on a football field before.
It's the most continuity I think this offense has ever had. Like returning starters.
Yeah, everyone's back, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So, on top of that, from the cohesion perspective and all the outside zone stuff you do, route running, how do you think that could positively affect the early season?
I mean, it's just like when you're not starting from scratch, you're not having to teach a bunch of like new guys, new plays, or like you're not having to teach new free agents like, hey, this is your landmark, you need to get these steps. And Coach Shanahan's office is very like particular, the amount of rules that are in everything. Like every single play tells every single person what to do, whether it's like I said, your landmarks, your steps, whatever it is. And when you've been in the system for a couple years, it makes it a lot easier. And so I think we're going to be able to start like doing all the plays that we were doing later in the season last year and just start with those off the rip and not just have to work with those. And then now Kyle will get a little bit more creative with those as well too.
So is that a concern, a new concern?
Not a concern for me. No.
Any doubt in your mind you'll be playing on Monday?
Nope.
And usual workload, most likely?
Hope so.
Yeah.
This is a game where you sat out maybe practice longer than you would have during the season or something. A precaution, or is it not?
Every day presents new challenges. You know, it's just you got to do what you got to do.
What are your expectations coming into this year? You know, I was telling George, you're defending the NFL rushing champ, offensive player of the year, other things on. What do you have in mind for yourself that's going to reflect on the team?
I think it's just taking it one play at a time. You know, I don't like to look at what's ahead. Each play has a life of its own, and just do what you have to do on each play. Take care of the things that you can control, and then go from there. See what happens.
The team that you're plays a very similar style of defense to this one. Does that present an advantage or a disadvantage to you guys?
I mean, we'll see. They play really well together. They play great team defense. Obviously, they're well coached and play with good team speed, discipline. They run fast. Definitely present a lot of challenges, and so like every week though, it's going to be about how well we execute.
Christian, what did you think of Mason and the way he ran this summer? He was impressive.
He did great, man. He did great. I think he did such a good job filling it. I think our whole room has really, pushed the standard, and that's been something that's been cool to see.
What's it been like in practice this week, having Trent, Brandon back, basically everybody back now?
Really cool. It's been definitely a little bit of fresh energy in the building, knowing that all that stuff's behind us and we can just play football now.
Have you seen studied him, but looked at Breece Hall much? And if so, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. I have a lot of respect for Breece. I think he's a heck of a back. He's big, fast, strong, can make any cut. He sees it well. He can make big plays when he's out there. And I have tremendous respect for him.
Frank Gore was on the radio today talking about one of the first times he met you was at joint practices. Do you remember this?
Yeah, he was in Buffalo?
Yeah. Do you remember him saying anything to you?
Man. I remember meeting him. Sometimes when you meet people that you watched as a kid, you're just worried about not saying anything stupid. So I don't remember exactly what he said to me, but I remember meeting him. It was a big honor when I did, and now being able just to chat with him a little bit has been really cool.
He said basically he remembered just telling you he was impressed by what he heard about you, so he went and watched film of you.
Yeah, I do remember. Yeah, he said he watched. It was the second day when I met him. He came in the second day and said he had some cool compliments.
He liked the way you worked.
Yeah, hearing it from someone like that.